You know, I was
happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
keep on because
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
it's got a lot of power.
Come on, Greg. You're asking a guy whose team name is Pellet Envy. So obviously the answer you're going to get is no.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
Charbono. It's all about the Charbono, dude. I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow. Yeah, really.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
But listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
How hot is Kelly Ripa in person?
Kelly Ripa is super hot. She's absolutely delicious.
Oh, yeah.
You could butter base her and pint Twinkies with that girl. She's delish.
Well, to put it briefly, let's just say I went to school.
There's no Robert Porker who's in charge of pig meat out there.
Is it not correct to properly classify you as Harry Sue's pit bitch?
I was his pit bitch for 6 weeks. I have no shame. I was. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
Succulent fish. What?
This right here is the premier media outlet.
So did you see this one? Tiger Woods has gone ahead and checked into sex rehab. Hey, Tiger, guess what? Everybody's addicted to sex.
I'm shaking like a dog shitting peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
All right, welcome back to After Dark, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up here in just a minute or two, we'll be tracking down friend of the show and, dare I say, thoroughbred horse racing expert, Harry DeHorse. Belmont Stakes is coming up this weekend. Memorial Day was, of course, a great day. Love to get out there and cook on the grills and cook on the smokers, assuming you have one or the other. And if you don't, what are you waiting for? Get that. Get a grill. Get two. That way, if one breaks down, you have another. Very simple. Just go out to your nearest whatnot and just jump in. Very simple. You could be joining in with all sorts of cool stuff that we do here on the show. But look, the Belmont Stakes is the last jewel of the Triple Crown that runs every year. And lots of stuff building up here. So we'll be looking for Harry DeHorse coming up in just a little bit. So look for that. Again, Harry DeHorse coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, after Harry, and I was remiss because I didn't get into this last week, was Kelly Dodd. She's a correspondent reporter for the Barbecue Central radio show. And she does correspondent pieces for me, from time to time, and it's certainly appreciated and doesn't go unnoticed. She was at the Middletown BBQ Cook-Off last weekend. Well, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And she was able to get some time with the organizer there. I would say the cuts roughly total, there's two cuts roughly in 3 minutes in total. So, I mean, not to say substantial amount of information, but enough to kind of get an overall idea initially what the guy thought and then kind of quickly how it summed up. So look for Kelly Dodd's interviews coming up here after we meet up with Harry DeHorse as well. So let's go ahead and go over to the lines. He's my friend, of course, and he's your friend. And for all the Centralites that are loving to get down for this weekend coming up on the horse racing to win a little cashish, so maybe they can put some Kobe beef on the cookers instead of choice grade. It's none other than friend of the show, Harry DeHorse. And we wonder where we're finding him now. Harry, what's up tonight? How are you, buddy?
I'm spending like a couple of grand here. Just let Tommy bring the damn dog in, all right? Hi, Greg. How you doing?
Good, Harry. How are you? You always got a little something going on, don't you?
Well, you know, we seem to draw a crowd wherever we go, Greg. Good to be back on the show.
So, we have the Triple Crown coming up. Well, not the Triple Crown, but of course we have the the last leg of the Triple Crown coming up here, the Belmont Stakes. So everybody wondering, where is Harry the Horse in the country?
Well, right now we're in New York City. We normally would be out closer to the track. Just a little early in the week, so we thought we'd spend a little time down closer to the city. As a matter of fact, I start a little anecdotal here. I just ran into Nicky Zito a couple of minutes ago. He wanted to be remembered. Greg Eler's a big fan of the show. But did you know that if Nicky, he could become the first trainer ever in modern history, and possibly, I don't know, ever, to finish first, second, and third in the Triple Crown in 1 year with 3 different horses? You may not have known that. It's like the equivalent of hitting for the cycle in baseball, but, his horse, the 5 down wears, that's a big deal.
That's right. So let's go ahead again. We're talking with Harry the Horse, thoroughbred racing expert and friend of the show. He's out there in New York City. And let's go ahead and take a quick look back at the previous 2 races, the previous 2 legs of the race. First, of course, always the Kentucky Derby. We had, what was it, like a 20-horse field. They were from inner pole to outer pole there. It looked like at one point when they were off to the races there when it started. You had Looking at Lucky, which was slotted to be the favorite, because Escondre had scratched there a week prior. Looking at Lucky, bad pick. I mean, for those that don't know, when it's time to actually, people don't know how the horses actually get their slots in the gate, but it's actually kind of a picking process, isn't it, Harry?
Well, it's a lottery, Greg. It's a very big event. Happens before every major race. Normally, the racing secretary does it, for the usual racing day. But in a big deal like the Breeders' Cup or the Triple Crown, it's a big affair. You can tune in and you can see it on your ESPN, your horse racing network, where they actually pull a lottery, and this is how the horses are selected for the post positions. Yes.
All right, so Looking at Lucky was the favorite, but drew the 1 hole, which, if you're not any type of fan of horse racing, it is really like the worst spot to be at. You would think maybe initially, because it's the 1 slot, you have the short turn around the track, that it would be best, but really nobody wants the 1 slot.
Well, that's what I refer to in the vernacular as the old wives' tale. There have been many winners who have gone out to 1 hole in the Kentucky Derby who have done very well. Silver Charm, Winning Colors, your Funny Side there from upstate New York. There have been others, many others, as a matter of fact. And, you make a good point. It is the shortest distance to go around the track, but oftentimes, as you come down the home stretch, you'll notice that the horses are lugging in and trying to get to the as close to the rail as possible. And that part of the track gets chewed up pretty good. And you have to remember that the feature race, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, others, the Belmont Stakes, they're all run at the last end of the card. Now, the day of the Kentucky Derby, you remember that was a very sloppy track.
Yeah.
And, the horses that ran a little bit more to the middle of the track and to the outside did better because I think the footing was better. And who knows, they may have found a tractor trail to run into, but, I think that post position is somewhat overstated.
All right, so inevitably, you watch the race. Many would argue the fact that Looking at Lucky did get pinched maybe 3/4 of the way down the first turn, or going into the first turn past the clubhouse for the first time, and he wasn't able to recover. No matter how good the horse was, no matter how good the jockey was, just wasn't able to overcome and win the race. Super Saver actually goes on to win. Interesting story about Super Saver, not so much that the horse won because he was kind of one of the favorites to go in, but Calvin Burrell winning that race, which was like he seems to win all of the Kentucky Derbies no matter what horse he's on, whether it's the favorite or a 50-1 shot. He finds a nose for the wire.
Well, you can't argue with success. Calvin does a very good job. Don't forget, Churchill is his home field, so to speak. But the horses he has ridden in the last, the 3 out of 4 derbies, which he has won, have been close to the rail most of the time. That's where he seemed to do the best. But you can't take it away from Calvin. He does a wonderful job. He's a patient rider. He becomes the one with the horse, and when it's Derby day at Churchill, Calvin seems to breathe different air. Always a good bet. No surprise to me that he won. Surprise to me that I didn't bet on him. That's all.
All right, so Super Saver goes in, wins that, then leeches forward 2 weeks later and goes into the second jewel of the crown, that being the Preakness over there in Pimlico in Baltimore. And looking at Lucky's in there as well. Super Saver, obviously everybody is now trying to gain momentum, hoping that Super Saver wins the second leg, so we could be looking at potentially this weekend of a Triple Crown drought ender, but it didn't actually happen that way. This time, looking at Lucky, which was a favorite the race before the Kentucky Derby actually pulls out. How did you see that race?
I saw it a little bit like you described the Derby, Greg. I think if Lucky would have had a better shot out of the gate, if he would have had a bit of if he would have waited just a little longer going into the turn, to the far turn, I think he might have been a different story that day. You have to remember, looking at Lucky ran into Preakness on a day when the sun was shining, the track was excellent condition. And it was even though I had predicted, I think it was on your show, I got to go on so many shows I can't remember, but I think I predicted on your show before the Derby that looking at Lucky was a good bet. I just think that, inevitably the better horse won at the Preakness. And, I was disappointed as hell not to have the Super Saver and looking at Lucky come up here to the Belmont. But I understand.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, which is the fact is now we're leading up to the race here in 4 short days. Neither of the winners of the previous 2 legs have bothered to enter into the third jewel. So, do you know exactly why that is? Do you have any insight from any of the track insiders as to why neither of those horses decided to make it out to Elmont for the race?
I can only... Wait a minute, Richie. Don't smoke here. Greg, I can only guess that they're looking down the road, without the possibility of a Triple Crown. Many of these owners and trainers, they look forward. There's so much racing ahead of us after the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. And, you've got a whole season opening up here in Saratoga, thank God. The good governor of New York State found it in his wisdom to pull his head out of his ass and give those boys the money that he owes them. Pardon me, I digress. But I would tell you that they're probably looking down the road for a very successful, season at not only at Saratoga but at Monmouth, and then on to the Breeders' Cup. I just think that they're hedging their bets.
All right. So as you look into, it's quite a substantially less number of horses than you saw in the Derby. I think Derby had 20 horses. Is it like a 10 or 12 horse here coming up on Saturday?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a good card actually. A good race. There's a number of horses. Usually in a situation like this, the field might fit out. And there are some good animals in this race. And 12 horses in a Belmont, even though the Preakness and the Derby winner will be in the contest, I think it's going to shape up for a really good race. Now, the media is beating the hell out of this race because the two champs from the previous 2 races aren't going to be in this. It's the race's fault. And that's coming. Well, I'm going to tell you there's a lot of big things that are going to happen here. Historically could happen. I don't know if you follow the trainers that well, but Alexis Barber will become the first female trainer in history to win a classic if, her horse make music for me to win. So, there's a lot of potential high points here, but I got to tell you, and I'll get to it in a minute because I know you're going to ask, I know who's going to win this race.
All right, because I was going to say, since you don't have the champions that are coming down, does this have a potential to set up where you have what I would term a lot of value in the field where you can do maybe some exotic bets and not feel so uncomfortable where if you have to bet a favorite, you're actually hedging your winnings or your big earners coming from the higher odds horse versus the favorite? And could we potentially see some even bigger payouts since some of the real heavy favorites or some of the previous winners of the legs this year aren't it?
Well, there's a possibility for rain on Saturday. It's a remote possibility. If it does, I'm going to tell you right now. And y'all get your papers and your pencils out, babysitters, because this is going to be your bet. and this is only if there's a money track.
All right.
If the mud and the slop prevails, put your money on it. This is going to be an exacta, Greg. It's going to be icebox and stay put. I do them over and under both ways. I would bet a lot of money on that particular combination if the track is sloppy. Now, I looked very carefully at the program. It's a little bit early yet. A lot could happen in the next several days. A horse could get a toothache. He could have a fingernail problem, whatever. But I looked at your buddy Kent DeSormo, who's riding this Drosselmeyer.
Maybe your buddy.
I think he's worth a look. I wouldn't put him necessarily in my trifecta, but I'm very, very fond, obviously, of Icebox. Whether he goes in the slop or the dry, I like his buyer figures. He's a 100 buyer in his last contest, and I'm going to put him in a combination with the first dude. I like all these dudes that are running in this race. For some reason, for years and years we had cats this, cats that. Now we got dudes this, dudes that. I like this combination of Icebox and the two dudes, Game On Dude and First Dude in my triple.
So you have Game On Dude, First Dude, Icebox for your triple, Icebox and Stay Put, only if the track is sloppy for your exacta.
That's correct.
Or do you have an exacta if the track is good?
Just to kind of reiterate what I said before. This Fly Down. This horse ran very well in the Dwyer. I wouldn't be surprised. Richie, I said don't smoke. He ran very well in the Dwyer, and I suspect that if you wanted to look someplace really deep in the card, you might want to look at that Stay Put again, or another horse that I kind of challenge you, the listeners, with this Stately Victor.
Stately Victor.
Yes.
All right, we're talking with Harry DeHorst, by the way, thoroughbred racing expert, friend of the show here on the Barbecue Central Show. We do this when the big races are coming down. Of course, we'll have him back again in August to break down some of the Saratoga races, like the Travers and such. But Harry, I wanted to ask you one more question before we go. In regards to bets, there is a bet called a wheel. And last race, which was the Preakness, I know a lot of people that took Looking at Lucky and wheeled that horse. Do you foresee a good wheel bet in the Belmont?
Well, Greg, you ask me that question every year, and I always give you the same answer. I love the wheel. And they have a saying that goes with the wheel, and that is if you live by the wheel, you die by the wheel. I feel very strongly that you need to have a prohibitive favorite and a field of horses where you got to have at least, some sort of a proportionate share of the winnings if that horse comes in second. In other words, you got 12 horses in this field. You've got to have some long shots in here. And I would tell you that Icebox and a wheel for the field is a bit risky. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit, maybe if you have any money left at the end of the day, you put Icebox on top, Stately Victor, Spangled Star, Make Music for Me, and Stay Put. That would be my wheel.
All right. So, again, Harry DeHorst breaking it down here. Upcoming, the Belmont Stakes will be running Saturday, so make sure you set your DVRs and your reminders, or stay tuned here to the Barbecue Central Radio Networks, because we will not let you forget about it. It is the final leg of the Triple Crown here in 2010. The drought continues, Harry, unfortunately. Do you see anybody coming up here for the next round of 3-year-olds that could potentially break this curse?
Don't forget, the next round of 3-year-olds are all unknowns at this point in time. We look at them, in the fall when they come up as juveniles. I really don't have anything for you on that at this point in time. But I was very delighted to see, in the forum today that Rachel Alexander is training up for the summer. That's a very good sign to see her come back on the track. And, as far as next year is concerned, I guess we have to wait and see what happens at the last part of the meet in August. Maybe I'll have something for you then.
All right. Again, we have on a sloppy track, Icebox and Stay Put for your exacta. And then if the track is nice, you want to do a triple, we have Icebox, First Dude, and Game On Dude. And we're talking with Harry DeHorst, thoroughbred racing expert and friend of the Barbecue Central Show. Harry, appreciate the insight, and we'll be looking for you again soon.
Thank you, Greg. I hope you and all your friends make $1 million.
All right. Take care. There he is. in the NYC. It is Harry the Horse, believe it or not. Believe it. That guy knows what he's talking about. I think I know a lot about horse racing, and I end up interviewing Harry as we do, and I feel like an idiot. But he knows. That guy wins. You know what's worse is when you go to the track with Harry, especially like when I'll take some of my buddies when we poke out to Saratoga every once in a while, and we'll stand up. Harry's always at the queue, by the way. And if you don't know what that means, I can't tell you any more about that. But if you're down with Saratoga locations at the track, he's at the queue. So take a look. Just call Harry. He'll know who you are. To get these guys that are out there the first time or the second time, and to watch Harry go through the preparation, the handicapping. He's out there at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning in the backstretch looking at the hot walks and seeing who's coming up here today and how are they looking, and are they sweating too much, this and that. I mean, he is a veritable knowledge base when it comes to thoroughbred horse racing. And look, I'm just trying to do my part to spread some love to that sport too. I'm a big horse race guy. I love it every year, and it's not just the 3 races for me. Believe me, we switched to AT&T Uverse so we could get phone, TV, and internet all on one bill. And it was like the best and the worst day of my life. It was best because the internet was better, the TV was fairly comparable, and the phone was the same. But I had to lose the TVG. That was like heartbreaking. Every Saturday and Sunday, I turn it on, and I'll watch races from 15 different racetracks, and AT&T Uverse does not have TVG. So I'm not liking that too much. That's all I got to say about that.
Get that big stuff out of here.
All right, we move on again. That was Harry the Horse breaking down the Belmont Stakes coming up this Saturday in case you are so inclined to watch and bet. If you want those bets again, just go ahead and email me at bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. I will give you the sloppy exacta and the clean triple. So look for those or email me if you want to get your hands on those. All right, we'll move on finally to the Kelly Dodd interviews, and these took place at the Middletown BBQ Cook-Off. This was 2 weeks ago. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And Kelly Dodd had contacted me probably 4 or 5 days in advance of this event, saying that she had gotten permission from the promoter to do some interviews. Basically just kind of asking this guy, Mr. Zook, I believe his name was, about why he wanted to bring in a competition, and then some final thoughts afterwards. We're looking, the first clip is just shy of 2 minutes. The second clip is just shy of 30 seconds. So if you've been waiting for the Middletown barbecue interviews via Kelly Dodd, Barbecue Central radio show correspondent, here they are, day one before the event.
This is Kelly Dodd, reporting for Barbecue Central Radio. I'm talking to Mr. Zook, the host of Middletown Barbecue Festival. Hello, how are you today?
Good.
Okay. Why did you decide to hold a barbecue competition?
There's some of the competitors that come into our market that we have, and they kept asking us to host one because there's none in the immediate area, and they live in town here. And they thought it'd be a good idea in a good area. They felt we'd get a lot of draw. So they kept bugging us, and we finally committed to it.
All right. Why did you decide to get sanctioned, and why did you decide to do it through KCBS?
KCBS, that's who Ron Templeman, that's who he suggested, and by getting it sanctioned, he said you'll get a lot more big-name teams to commit because it's part of an organization and everything. And so we got the governor's proclamation, got the state championship. So hopefully that'll be a lot bigger draw for us.
That's really cool. What is the most difficult thing about hosting a competition?
Probably all the preparation that goes into it, month in advance, just to coordinate everything, all the late nights and everything.
Alright, and how do you feel about the competition? Like preparation, that kind of thing?
How I feel about this one today?
Yeah.
I went, it's going real good so far. Yeah, everybody seems to be cooperating real good.
Are you planning to host this again next year?
Yes, we are. And hopefully we can add a few more teams.
Hope to see you again next year.
Okay.
Let me tell you what. I know what I want. You know what the biggest hassle is? Is those loudmouth idiots in the back. Can't you see that my embedded reporter is trying to do an interview with the person that's put on this competition? You don't have the decency to sit there and shut your big fat yapper.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Bitch, shut up. We're trying to conduct an interview. You know, I told Kelly, I said, exercise all restraint when you're sitting there interviewing the guy that's put on this event. Because, you know, the last thing that we want to do as a show, and, you know, she's correspondent, doing some correspondent pieces for me as she sees fit, is to, you know, kind of reach back as you have the microphone in the guy's face and then reach back, whack, and smack the guy, you know, right in back of you. You don't want to do that. So, you know, kind of hold off. But, geez, I mean, you know, have a little couth. Show some decorum, Peanut Gallery. When you see a lady that is doing some correspondent pieces for the Barbecue Central show, could you have a little bit? Could you have a little bit of common courtesy? And shut your big, fat hole, or move it over somewhere else, or stick a bottle in it, a bottle of booze, a bottle of beer, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, your 15th cheeseburger, because you're probably big and fat. Just shut up. Move along, sir. Trying to drown out my correspondent piece. All right, so that was day one. That was Mr. Zook, and he seemed, pretty even-keeled about doing it. Said a lot of work. Did get the governor's proclamation, which is always key. Got to get that sanctioned. Want to be able to potentially get into the jack draw. I mean, everybody wants to go to competitions where you have the potential to get in for a jack draw. So they had the competition. You know, Kelly's dad actually competed in this, and he refuses to tell me how he actually did in these events. And I ask him, but he refuses to tell me. So, Brian, we'll be looking for you next time. Here is the third piece. Here's the second piece, just a quick follow-up as to how it all went down after the event ended. Again, about 23 seconds. Stand by. Hello?
This is...
Matt? What's going on here? All right. Well, please don't do this to me. All right, where are we going here? What do I have these under? Sound effects. Stand by. Stand by. I'll do this here in a second, boy. 21, 22. Refresh that. Let's see if this works. No. What? Now I got to go old school. You know, I hate going old school. Where do I even have this? Got to go into the D drive. Got to go to the C drive. Stand by. I do have it. Relax. Contest interviews. Zook. 22nd. Here we go. Here we go.
So it's after the awards, and did everything run smoothly?
Yeah, I thought it went very well.
Okay. Is there anything you would change for next year?
Yeah, we'll probably put everything together a little bit and get a couple more contestants in here and a couple more vendors and try and draw a little more publicity.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
Very brief follow-up question there. No doubt about it. All right. So it seems he thought it probably went pretty good. Diva, wake up. Can't sleep during my show. All right, that was Kelly Dodd reporting for the Barbecue Central radio show at the Middletown BBQ Cook-Off. And again, the event seemed to go. She'll be actually at the Washington, D.C., the big event out there where they do. It's actually a dual competition. They cook KCBS, and they also cook the Memphis Barbecue Network as well. So that's going to be in, I believe, a few short weeks, actually. Very big event. A lot of the top teams out there, and certainly the correspondent pieces will be hot and heavy out there. So look for that. And that's going to do it for me tonight. Next week, we got the Barbecue Addicts. Jason Day going to be talking about the barbecue book they got out. Very hot-selling book. Barbecue Makes Everything Better. Also, Mike Peters is going to be joining me as well. So look for that. That'll be next week. No After Dark guest slated right now, but that'll change. Don't worry about it. Thanks to Harry DeHorst for coming on this past segment talking about the Belmont coming up. And again, first segment guests were John Dawson of PatioDaddyOBBQ.com. Thanks for the APL BBQ 25 books. And Ed Hamlin of Grill Innovations for the grill plate. $10 off coupon right now if you mention the show, grillinnovations.com, and I'll have it all on the show notes. We'll see you back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, it's your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.